I wanted to give you a little bit of an education on modifying the underlever assembly and the type of things that you'll be running into once you do. That there is a little bit of a difference in height and size. So if I go ahead and line this up with the pin at the same spot, you can see there's a big difference between the screw locations. Now that also affects the length of the wire. So where the length of the wire might have been good here, once I go over to there and I transfer it, the wire is way too long. You can see how much wire I cut off right there. So each section might be a little bit different, you know, so you want to monitor that and make sure that you're not cutting too much off. So I went ahead and I made a little stick, and the stick will, what I did in this section is I'll go ahead and I'll put that on, and then I have it right to the end there, okay, for the length. Then I can just go snip, cut it off. Now I'll put the other one on. I'm trying to do this while I look through the camera. It's kind of weird. All right, and I'll do that. And you can see that's how much I got to cut off. So I'm going to go ahead, hold it in place, put that on there, and snip. All right, so like I said, you want to make sure that you monitor it. You don't want to just keep going, you know, you don't want to be too short. But I know that in this section, these 10 here, I'm going to use this size, and I'm going to check it again for each section. And make sure after you cut it, sometimes these are a little sharp. You could feel a little burr. So you want to go ahead and take your file and just kind of this way. When you slide it in here, it'll go in nicely. I'm in the process now of installing the refurbished underlever assembly, and I'm fitting it to the piano right now, making sure that everything is lined up and that all the dampers will be lined up. So this process is a little bit different because I've installed a new soundboard on this piano. And when you install a new soundboard on the piano, you don't have your holes, the holes that I need for the damper guide. Now, normally when I do a restoration and I keep the old soundboard, all the old holes are still there. But because this is a new soundboard, I don't have any holes left on the soundboard so that I know where to put my damper guide rail. So what I have to do is I have to set it up, install the underlever assembly, and then start putting on some dampers in different areas, lining things up and making sure that everything is nice and straight and everything is working and dampening the string properly. So in order for me to get my damper guide rail in place and to hold it in place, I've created these little blocks. What these will do is these will create pressure to hold the damper guide rail down, and it gets underneath the strings. So let me show you what I do here. So I pop these underneath the string. Hopefully this is coming through in the video. Okay, so you can see this is now under the string, and then I'll slide it up over on the top of the damper guide rail in a good position so that I'm not anywhere near the screws. And then I'll start turning the screw down. And as I start screwing the screw down, it's pushing this wood up and making pressure against the strings. You can see that block of wood is underneath the strings, and as I start turning the screw down, it's pushing up against the dampers, up against the strings, and holding this in place. Now I can move it around a little bit, you know, to get it in position. They normally had it in between the strings. That was the place where they had the screws, where everything was lined up originally. So if it's not lining up there, as in the midsection, then I'll adjust it. But the real test will be when I start putting dampers in. Well, I've already finished this and I put the screws in. You can see how they go in between the strings. But I want to show you here where I put my guide dampers when I'm testing it out. So I'll put a damper there. I'll put it in a couple of different sections, and then I'll move it forward and backward and make sure that it works squarely on the string and it's going over all three strings properly. Spend a little bit of time doing this. It'll save a lot later on where you won't have to start doing a lot of regulating to the dampers. If you do this properly, this will really help you to get by this quickly once you start installing your dampers. So you can see I'm showing you here how it lifts. It should lift and it should sit squarely on the string, both front and back. And if it doesn't, I have to move it, the damper guide rail forward or backward, so that this way they'll go straight up and down and sit squarely on the string. Well, I know I left a lot out. There's a lot more information to share. So come on back for the next video and I'll try to fill in some blanks and talk more about the regulation of the dampers.